This is
That's
my
classic.
right
That's
here. All right. Welcome everyone. Hit an apron at home. We are on episode 5. If it is your first time joining, thank you for coming along. We started this a couple weeks ago. One, because I had nothing to do at home and I needed an excuse to drink. And people were actually asking, like, how do I start cooking? And I figured I might as well just address a lot of the questions on IG Live. So actually, if you want to look at recaps of those, I've finally taken the time to post the videos on YouTube. They're unlisted, so you actually have to go to the blog, aarondiner.com, and they have links to the YouTube videos. You can see all of the notes we've had, the recipes of the food we made. It's actually a 4-part series covering all the reasons why people don't cook, or what may keep you from cooking. So if you go to a lot of other channels, they might give you recipes, but we cover, how do you address efficiency? How do you address confidence, flexibility? Last week we talked about creativity, because what I want to give, and actually last week was supposed to be the last class until, I don't know, I figured like, shit, maybe we should just do an espresso one with Mario, because people have been asking for us to continue. If you go to a lot of other channels, and you're not sure how to tackle these recipes, I hope the 4-part series will help give you the mindset of how a non-chef sees cooking, and that can get you into the kitchen a lot more. So today's a little bit different. We're bringing back guests since y'all have been requesting, and Mario has been supporting the show since the first one. So
Yes.
So we put him on the spotlight, and today we're going to talk everything about espresso. If you have come to the previous shows, you know that we always start with a drink, and I totally peer pressured Mario to drink with me. So I am going to start off. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make a couple of drinks real quick, just so I have something to sip on while we talk coffee. Mario will walk us through the machine that is gloriously behind him, talk about espresso, some of the basics. Part of this is because I know very little about espresso. I don't even know, is espresso the bean? Is it the grind? Is it the color? Is it the way of making it? I don't know. So we're going to go through that. We're going to make 2 different ways of doing espresso. One is obviously with the machine. And so that when you, I think this is exactly what you DM me, Mario, is when you walk into a Starbucks, you'll know if something is afoot. So like
Exactly.
a better appreciation for the $5 coffee you're going to pay for. You might as well know what you're drinking, right? And if you don't have a machine at home, like I don't, if you got like one of these, like literally you get these at the grocery store. They're called MokaPots. This is not even a MokaPot like the brand, but it'll work. I have a media if you have one of those, and then we'll show you how to actually make your own lattes at home, using, very basic ingredients. Like I have a Tupperware and French press to try to froth milk later on. So that's what we're going to do. All right, we're going to start with 2 cocktails involving espresso. Full disclaimer, I've never made this before. I'm going to close the bathroom real quick. That's the problem with New York apartments. They're so tiny. We're going to do an espresso gin and tonic. I've never had one before. And then an espresso martini, which I have had, but I've never made before. So this could either, at the very least, if this goes wrong, you'll know what not to do. All right.
Are you drinking both of those?
I mean, should I answer that? All right, let me say this. If it turns out bad, I'm not gonna drink it, Mario. But if it turns out good, it's a Sunday, and I have nowhere to be tomorrow. So
exactly.
I mean, all right. So I'm gonna start with the gin and tonic, and then we'll move on to the martini, and then I think you want to do an old-fashioned, right? So we'll demo that as well.
This will be my first
so I'm gonna start. I'm gonna do it the way I've seen it on the blogs, because I think a lot of people like mix this for the gram, so it looks pretty, and they don't mix it in the way I would have think, which is the syrup and your espresso and then your tonic water. They actually put the tonic water first, so I'm gonna do that. I have some ice at the bottom. Just do that. Now it calls for a little more espresso than martini, or than gin. Sorry. So I have some espresso that I made. We'll go through how I made that later. I just kind of put it in a Tupperware so it gets a little cooler to the touch.
Yeah.
So about 1.5 ounces of espresso. And then I'm going to put a touch of syrup. Y'all have seen this syrup that I made. Literally, this is a 4-year-old syrup. This is 4 years old, and it's still going. So this is just a ginger syrup that I like using in a lot of my drinks. I'll put about a little less than 1/2 ounce. I don't really like super sweet drinks, so I gotta do that.
Oh, that doesn't expire?
What's up?
That doesn't expire?
Syrup?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just sugar, and I haven't died yet, so I guess not. I also, okay, the other thing too is I put a lot of spices in there, a lot of ginger, a
No.
lot of cinnamon, cardamom. So not only does it taste good, but I'm pretty sure there's some preservative quality in there. Okay, and then my gin. I'm gonna put a hair under an ounce and a half because I really don't want to go too fast with this, and you know the liquor budget be limited these days, so I can't be going through my stash too quickly. I was commenting the other day about how my problem is I want to build a bar, like a stash, but every
Yeah.
time I'm about to buy the second bottle, I'm already done with the first.
That's kind of where I am right now.
This is surprisingly good.
Told you.
Yo, this is
Told you.
surprising. Okay, so Mario told me about this. You had this in Japan?
Yeah, when I went to Japan.
Oh my gosh, dude, this is. I mean, I love G&Ts, but I thought the espresso would really
Well,
mess it up.
it's pretty good.
Yeah, and it smells amazing.
I mean, I
I'll
think
put
it's a
that.
syrup too. That's pretty balanced. The balance and the spices and stuff like that probably makes it a lot better. I didn't have any spices in mine.
Yeah. If you're gonna make this at home, make sure you get tonic because there's a difference between tonic water, seltzer, and club soda. Those are completely different things. Tonic has I don't know how to pronounce this. Is it quinine,
Yeah,
quinine? I don't know, but it has a certain flavor that is unmistakable. And so if you're gonna try to substitute this club soda, it's not gonna work. Mario, you want to do an old fashioned?
yes. So just like you, I just have a regular jar. This is like an old pasta jar, like pasta like sauce jar. That comes with the martini comes with 2 ounces of espresso. So I pulled this earlier. One thing about espresso, when you pull it, it only lives for about 10 seconds until it expires. So I had to wait for it to go to room temperature. So it's technically expired espresso, but it still should be good. It's just 2 ounces of that. Um, I have Jameson here. I don't have like actual bourbon, but I have this like special triple one, which was like in bourbon cask. So I guess that works. So you take about an ounce of that. Just get an ounce, probably more than that. Pour it in. Then it comes with bitters as well. So I got orange bitters. I don't know why I couldn't find anything other than that. So let's see how this goes.
Oh, is that by Angostura? Is it also Angostura?
What?
Oh no, never mind. The brand. Yeah, it is Angostura.
Yeah. Is
Yeah, I
that
saw
good?
these at like bodegas. So you guys like, I would recommend if anyone's making cocktails or even things that are like rich stews. Bitters is like a secret weapon. So if you go to
Yeah.
the bodega and get some Angostura bitters, like put them in your steaks, your
Yeah.
cocktails, it's amazing.
Perfect. They said it's just a dash. I think that's enough. And then simple syrup, just a quarter of an ounce. You're gonna have these recipes on your blog, right?
For yeah, I'll put them up. I'll put them up. So your friend was asking Val, I think, right? Was asking for recipes beforehand, and I was having trouble writing these up beforehand because one, I didn't know how they would taste like, and I don't have like a lot of ingredients to like mess around with. And second,
Yeah.
I think like even last time I was like, should we make ice cream tomorrow? Like, F it, let's make ice cream.
I
Just like
mean,
ripping.
you could.
David said, gotta try the Jameson cold brew. Oh, wait, you mean like it's a whiskey, but they infused it with coffee, or then a coffee product infused with, or with a touch of whiskey?
So I got a lemon peel as well.
I haven't died yet. Yo, man. Here's the thing with IG Live is I should be looking at the comments a lot more, and I keep forgetting to. Oh, so is that orange
You put
peel?
the lemon in there.
What
You
is
put
that,
the lemon
orange peel?
peel in there. Whatever.
How is
Oh
it?
wow, wow, that's pretty good. Not bad.
Nice.
I like it.
Nice. Okay.
I'm good to go.
Let's change it up because I actually really like this. So I don't think I need a martini. I thought the martini would be my backup. So
Okay.
I think I'm gonna. chill with this, and we'll make a martini afterwards with fresh espresso. So
Okay.
let's talk espresso real quick because I know very little about it. I know I just order it and make it at home, but what actually is espresso?
So just to preface the conversation as well, I made my first espresso drink back in like February, but I've had espressos, of course, but I got into it recently once I bought this machine, and then also before that, I took like a class at a coffee shop. But essentially, espresso is just concentrated coffee. Um, Once we walk through me actually pulling a shot, you'll see that I'm taking about a certain amount of grams and then just hitting it with like 200 degrees of water, and then that pressurized water is running through the coffee grinds and then spitting out about 2 ounces of espresso. So the taste is a little smoother.
Could I
It's a lot.
use any bean for espresso? Like, so it doesn't matter what kind of coffee bean I use.
No, preferably it should be on the darker side, but it just depends on what kind of flavors you want to pull out of it. The lighter beans usually have different flavors, such as like berries and just lighter flavors like that. But then if you want to go on the darker side, you're going to be able to pull out a lot more. It's pretty much just a roast, right? So it's not even just a bean, because you can have any bean, but if you roast it for longer, it's going to be a darker roast. But
Right.
it's just caffeine usually when you go on the darker side.
So if I look at the label, because when I go to the grocery store, I see some that are saying like espresso grind or espresso, like it specifically says espresso. Um, I always understood that it means it's super super fine. Is that correct?
Um, is it grinded already?
Yeah, it's already ground.
Okay, so if it's already ground, that's probably meant for espresso. That's why. And when we walk through it, because I have the grinder here that I was showing you, the same kind of coffee. If you're gonna make like regular like pour over coffee, or if you're gonna use like make a cold brew, just based on the filtration of the coffee itself, you may want it a little more coarse.
Mhm.
But for this, I'll show you why you have to adjust the coarseness of your coffee and the fineness of your coffee based on whatever coffee beans you're using, as well as like the flavor that you're chasing as well.
Got it, got it. Okay. You want to walk? Ricky asked how much the machine is. I know. This is what people have been asking me. I don't know if you want to answer it or if you
No,
want to give like a high low, but
no, if you buy this machine, the Linea PB, straight up, it's probably around 16 to 17,000, because it's literally a commercial machine. So if you look at the rig that I have here just to power this machine, you'll know that it's just not meant for to be used in the home. Like before this live started, I tripped my power because like I had it plugged into an outlet where my modem and my like router is plugged into, and then that was just it just cut my machine off. So I literally have like everything plugged out, and I had to flip off the switches in my breaker just so this can operate. It's a lot of work. Like that's why when I practice, it's like everything's off, and I'm like just focusing on that.
damn. Okay, so I mean, I think my question is, why did you? Why did I kind of know the backstory, but why did you even bother buying this thing? Because this, you're right, it's huge, dude. It's not supposed to be in the home, but you
No,
have one in your house.
yeah. So essentially, I always wanted to have a coffee shop. I've always owned a coffee shop probably for the past like 6 years. Like I've been in love with like coffee shop culture, going there with friends, sharing ideas, just catching up. And I think it's like the perfect like environment to kind of like organize energy and kind of facilitate ideas and knowledge through it. So earlier last year, I was like looking for locations on where I can open one up. But then once I started understanding the cost of opening up a coffee shop, so just even just even knowing the cost of like the machine, the grinder, and everything else like that, that's already gonna put you at like $20,000, and then you have to think about renovations for a space. Then you have to think about um, hiring employees, materials, and all that other stuff. So for me, I just felt like, how can I start very lean? So I found this machine for a discount, and then this is a pretty brand new machine that was made last year. And then even the grinder itself, the grinder is a Mazda grinder. It's usually like $3,000, but he gave it to me for like 1,000.
Yeah.
So with those in general, I was like, okay, you know what? I can actually do a cart. So not just a cart where I'm standing on the corner selling coffee, but I can do like events. I can go to corporate events. I can do pop-up shops. I can be a little more lean and I can just build a brand before I can actually go to the route of having a full blown shop.
Right.
And then I even think like if I had a shop today, like it would be out of business already because no shops are operating right now.
Yeah, it's for those who don't know from my side, I actually met Mario when I was still an accountant, and you're still with EY, right? So for people who think like, yo, this is you were joking last week how we should open an Italian restaurant because of our
Yeah,
names.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, neither of us are professional, but I think that's what's really cool is how we, there's different ways to approach your craft, and if it's buying a discounted machine to like f around at home while we wait for this thing to get over, like, hey, I think
It's
someone put their dedication. So, all right, yo,
uh,
let's see this machine because I'm sure people actually want to see that instead of us just like talking. Because otherwise, I'm just gonna keep drinking.
Um,
Uh,
I'll take it up. Let me just switch. Okay, so essentially this is the machine here. It's the Linea PB. They call it semi-automatic because and I can get into that real quick because normally if I'm brewing, it's gonna count how long it takes me to actually pull a shot. So say for instance I'm brewing like a double shot here. You can see the counter counting right here how long that shot's gonna be pulled for.
mhm.
Right? So it's going to stop eventually. So right now it says 9 seconds. So typically, if you want to pull an espresso shot, it should take about anywhere between 20 to 30 seconds. I generally like it to be anywhere between 25 to 30 seconds because that pulls more of the flavors out of the espresso, right? Um, so they call it semi-automatic because it's counting for you. A fully automatic machine would have the espresso grinder built into it as well as volumetric scales, which weighs how much you're yielding from the coffee itself. So what that means is how can I do this? Should I just go do a shot for you guys
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now?
Do a shot.
Okay, let's do it. Okay. So pretty much this is the grinder. This pretty much counts how many shots you've pulled for the day. But let me see if I can put this down so you guys can see just what I have to do. Let me know if you can still see.
Yeah, we can see. I think
Okay, you
this
can
is
see
this
that?
is crazy because I used to work at Starbucks back in college, and we had a fully automatic one. So we
Yeah.
literally didn't have to grind anything. You pressed whether you want a double or a single, and that's it. It weighed everything, it timed everything. Um, so I think,
So
is it correct to say that with this you have more control over how you want the end product to taste because there's so many variables you could tweak?
absolutely because let me just get down. The fact that I can control the grind size and then control how long I'm gonna brew the espresso to pull what kind of flavors I want out of it. That's a lot more control. But if I have an automated machine, since Starbucks is such a major corporation, they need to kind of streamline everything and make it standard. So they don't want any room for error. You don't want to go to one Starbucks and it tastes different than another Starbucks.
Right.
But if you go to other coffee shops, like mom and pop shops, you'll see that they usually have like a La Marzocco or other kind of, or DeLonghi or other kind of like machines similar to it where they have a little more control and they have their own recipes. So each espresso has like its own recipe, which I can show right now. So this is like a French roast. It's about done. I have another Kenyan roast though, but this is a French roast. The guy at the shop told me it was specifically for espresso. So this is a portafilter. I usually weigh it on. So I usually weigh it on this machine here, this scale. So then right here you see is weighs about 603 grams. I cancel that out. And then generally for this blend, I've noticed that getting about 18.5 grams of espresso beans or grind from it is a pretty good amount to pull the double shot that I need. Okay, so there's a lot of mess here as well. I'll tell you what you can do with that mess. So it pulled about 16.6. Oh, can you see it?
Yep.
You can see it pulled about 16.6 grams. So I just need about 2 more grams. So I'll go back to the machine and I'll just press the automated button. Okay. So if you look now, it's about 18.6, which isn't bad. I usually like to get it a little more exact, so maybe
What happens? What
2.5.
happens if you're off by a gram? I mean, it's the amount of water that's running through it, right? Like, does it really matter?
So you got to keep it. You got to think of it like this, right? Some of the water is not. Some of the water is pooling and extracting the flavors out of the espresso. So
Right.
some of the water is going to stay within that puck that's going to come out of it. So not all of it will come out. So it depends on how fine it is, how much water gets out through the portafilter,
Right.
and then how much does that yield weigh. So I got 18.5. Generally, the amount of grams I should get back in yield, the liquid yield, should be about 32. Not 32. It should be one to two. So that's about
Right.
36. Yeah, like 37,
Okay.
38. Roughly in that ballpark. Give me a second. Maybe I'll bring this here.
Sweet view, dude.
No, it's like nothing there. Okay. So I have the portafilter here,
Yep.
and you can see that the coffee is like kind of swelling up to the top. You're supposed to kind of pat it down a little bit so you can get it to like a good level. And then you take this. This is a tamp. Take the tamp. I have a tamp mat here as well. Put it on. Can you see it? Or
Yep.
it's too low? Okay.
It's a little high, but I can see the
A little
tip.
high?
There you go. Oh,
Yeah. Give me a second.
someone asked how is isolation going, and you could obviously tell we're isolated because we have a lack of assistance.
Yeah, right. It's trying to do this. Can you see it now?
You just move away a little bit. You know what I mean? Move towards the machine. There you go. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have a mat here. That's what's important. Okay. So can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay. So you kind of push down on it. Not too much pressure. And it should be even. And if you look at it now, the espresso is kind of compact.
That's what you mean by the puck.
Yeah, the puck. And you're going to see the puck once I put it in the machine as well. So now I just put it in the machine. And then, where's my thing? Okay. I actually got it.
Damn, you even have the washer thing?
I got everything.
This guy.
Okay, so I want to be able to measure it that it yields me about 2 ounces of espresso,
Yep.
and that's when the machine should cut off. So I already programmed the machine to cut off at 2 ounces. So let's see what we get here. It's coming out pretty well, steady stream.
Essentially, what it's doing is it's super high temperature water going at a high pressure through the puck.
Correct.
And that's what makes it an espresso.
Correct.
Got it.
And you can see here it stopped at 20 seconds. So I think this is an under-extracted shot, meaning I didn't get it to the point that I wanted it to. So I wanted it usually at 25. So there's 2 things you could do for that, right? You can either add additional coffee because the beans may be a little older. So adding additional coffee will make the water stream through it a little slower. Or you can adjust the fine size. Actually, let me just try this. It's not bad, actually. So anywhere between 20 to 30 seconds is fine, but I usually like it a little longer.
Yeah.
But
we should thank our sponsors, Farm Daryl, for helping you carry that thing. Otherwise, this show would not be possible.
Yeah. So my brother helped me pick it up.
Just totally put it in the chat.
That's my brother. So my brother helped me pick it up from the machine from the store, and then like when I had to like put it on top of this thing here, it weighs 200 pounds, so I can't lift it by myself. I had to get somebody else to. So he came and actually helped me with it.
Jesus. When you tasted it, by the way, so when you tasted it and you said this is okay, like what were you looking for? So like if I go to an espresso shop, right, and this is my ignorance, I see everyone like moving super fast, but I don't know if they're doing it right or not. When I taste it, what am I looking for? So I go like, yeah, that's pretty good.
It shouldn't be sour. So if it's sour, that means it's under extracted.
Gotcha.
But if it's super bitter, that means it's over extracted. So
that's
right now
I equated espresso with sour for years. years?
So that depends. If they're using a lighter bean, then yeah, that could possibly be the case for it. It might be high in acidity.
Yep.
But if it's a darker bean, a darker roast, then having a little like bold, like a bold flavor,
Yep.
that's not bad at all. Yeah. So I usually like mine bold. I don't like the sour taste, and it also gives a balance to when you add milk and stuff to it as well.
Hmm.
Because the
So
milk is
I
actually
walk
pretty sweet.
into a coffee shop. How do I know whether it's going to be a good, like, are there things you look at a barista and you're like, yeah, I don't think he knows what he's doing?
So it depends, right? So if they're doing it manually, sometimes I look at them and I'm like, you didn't weigh it like at all, like you didn't try to weigh it, you didn't pat it down enough, or um, even when you extracted the espresso, you let it sit there for a little longer than it should have.
Yep.
But you gotta keep in mind that Starbucks, they have all this stuff super automated, so it's meant to move fast. So I kind of just look out to see what they're actually doing, how long did it take for them to pull that shot, and then especially if you try like just an espresso straight up, like what was the flavor profile on it? What was it supposed to
Yeah.
taste like? Yeah.
Is it bad etiquette? So I remember when we were trading at Starbucks, like if our shot was sitting there, we had to throw it and then restart because you're right, like it expires, right? It's no longer fresh. Is it bad
Correct.
etiquette to like if let's say a barista pulls the shot and it's been sitting there for a good 30 seconds because they're making someone else's drink,
Yeah.
can you say like, yo, can I get a fresh shot? Or is that kind of faux pas?
Oh, like if you go in there and you want a fresh shot?
Like no, like you see them making your drink, they pulled the
Yeah.
espresso, then they had to go ring someone up. So your espresso's been sitting there before they could finish your latte, right? So it's no longer it's not fresh. Can you
No,
ask
yeah.
them to pull you a fresh shot, or are you like,
You
is that
should. You should. I would.
okay?
Before I would never cared until like I started doing research and stuff like that. Then I taste like an old shot,
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, this is like a huge difference
right.
because like if when I forgot to show you, but when you pull the shot itself, there's like two layers to it. There's an espresso, which is the dark color, but
Yep,
then there's the lighter bubbles on the top, which is the crema. Once
yep.
that crema goes away, all those bubbles that O2, those O2 gases, once they're gone, that means it's expired. So
Got
it's not
it.
as quality as like if you would have had it fresh.
So how about this? How about this? Why don't you pull another shot, and meanwhile, I could walk people through this pot. Or do you have something else on the machine that you want to show?
Um, I can do the milk steaming unless you want to hear a little more about milk steaming. I don't know if you want to go through that,
Let's
but
do the milk later because I'm gonna heat my milk too, and I could do the milk
okay,
with you. So let me
okay, go
walk
ahead.
them through the pot. If you want to pull another shot, so you can show those two layers, then
Yeah,
I'll show them the at home method.
yeah, I'll do
All
that.
right.
I have to put more beans in the hopper as well, so give me a sec.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do your thing. All right. So for people who don't want to spend the $16,000 and who don't have a brother to help you carry the machine to your house, um, the most common way to make espresso at home is probably through something called a mocha pot. Now, mocha pot, it's kind of like saying Kleenex to stand in for tissue. It's like just a brand name. And it basically is a three-piece unit that looks like this, right? You're going to have a receptacle for your water. You're going to have kind of like that handle thing that Mario was using where your beans would lay. And then your container where the espresso ends up at the end. And what happens is, right, if we think about espresso, it's super high temperature, pressurized water going through a puck of espresso. When this goes on the stove, the hot water is pushed through this, right? So it's going through the puck of espresso and ends up out of this little pipe. So you have an espresso, your finished espresso is sitting in this container while the grounds are at the end. And that's what prevents you from having to use other filters or whatnot. I find this an amazing thing to use in the morning because I can get a shot of espresso right away. Now, is it the right amount of pressure? Not quite. I think I read somewhere that like an espresso machine, like the kind that Mario's using, goes up to like 9 bars of pressure, I think, or of atmosphere. I forgot what the technical term is. And this is about a fourth of that. So it won't quite be the espresso where you get those two layers that you're gonna get at a coffee shop, but this is quite close. So I'm gonna show you how to make one while Mario is pulling his shot. Wait, what is your questions? Is it bad if I didn't know the espresso? Yo, someone asked, is it bad if I didn't know the espresso expired? I don't know how you feel about that, Mario, but my feeling is ignorance is bliss. Like, I didn't know
Yeah.
shots could go bad. I thought it was just, it went cold.
I mean, I learned all this in like 2 months, and that was me just Googling things, learning how to make coffee, and then just talking to baristas, and then learning. So now, like, I'm not, I don't want to be snob level, but I just know, like, okay, there are like some golden rules to making coffee that you probably shouldn't break, right? So that's kind of how I am. But it's not bad.
Going on the philosophy side, right? Because for the last 4 weeks that we've been doing this, there was always one or two people who would message me later and go like, "Oh my God, that stuff is fancy." Um, I don't think it's being snobby, right? Like, if you like your espresso and you went out and that's your thing. Like me, I like my cocktails, so I bought a little jigger. Like, everyone's got their thing. It's no different from someone who drops money on concert tickets or new Jordans.
Exactly.
Right? Like shit,
exactly.
I like my drink. So okay, you're about to pull a shot because I'm gonna put some water in this.
Yeah. I just changed my beans, so even with changing the beans, there's gonna be a difference in coarse and fineness of the grind. I just have to find that. But I'm just gonna show pulling a shot, like, and then testing it out, and then
Cool. Spicy 8, you call it the yes, it is the same. MokaPot's just the brand. Mine is an Imusa. It's just the brand. Question from Ricky we'll save for later. What are the rules, the golden rules of espresso? All right, let me show you guys how to make this. This is super, super fast. I do it because it's early in the morning and I'm too tired. Usually, I just fill this with cold water and go away. However, the correct way to do it is to actually get some water that's already hot and put it into your pot, because what happens is if you start with cold water and you put this on the fire, the beans are already getting hot while you're waiting for your water to boil. And so you end up with a bitter product. There's a market difference. So if you have the time, today we got the time, I actually heated this water already so that I could put this into the MokaPot hot. So I'm gonna grab a glove. The only annoying thing is I can't touch this once there's hot water, so I need to get like an oven mitt. So there's a little spout here. I don't know if you can see. There's the little tiny golden nub, and that's kind of where you want to fill the till. So,
yeah, you see, and what you mentioned earlier, Paulo, even with the using cold water, the difference between using cold water and already hot water. Yeah. That's why I like the machines. My machine's already set to 200 degrees, so it's already 200 degrees once it's hitting that pot and extracting all the coffee instantly. That's why it only takes about 20 to 30 seconds.
We got the OG Cafe Bustelo, Bodega coffee. Okay, so you put it in there. I'm gonna make a mess. Just putting some espresso. I level spoon. I'm doing the same kind of tamping motion that Mario did to create that puck. I'm pressing down a little, put my top on, and I'm gonna use this to tighten it because it's hot underneath, right? And then I'm gonna put this on the stove, and you'll see how this works. If you've had a MokaPot and you've always been making it with the lid closed, make it with the lid open for once, because it's actually kind of cool. Let me flip around real quick. Yes, thank you. OG Al-Kaimi. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Not fancy. Thank you. There's certain, like, it's luxurious if you make it. Like, good olive oil. Like, it's not fancy. It's good. All right, I'm going to turn on my heat. So what this is doing is it's heating already hot water. So hopefully this gets done faster. It's pushing, and once that water is really, really hot, right, there's higher pressure in an enclosed space. It's going to push it through the pipe up in holes at the top. The water will run through and extract the flavors from the espresso, and you get espresso. While that's heating, if you want to do yours, Mario?
Yeah, I'm doing it now, but I just changed the beans. So earlier, the last beans that I was using, when I was using the machine, it was extracting about 16.5 grams. But these beans, for some reason, they react to the grinder a little differently. So when I did press my double shot button, it extracted about 23 grams of coffee, which is way too much.
So now I got it down to about 18.5. And this is what you call dialing it in. So I have 18.5 grams of coffee. I typically want it to extract within 25 to 30 seconds. And then it should yield about 1.2. It should yield about double that amount or triple that amount. So let's see.
Let me pull you off the screen real quick. You guys can see it's coming out right there. Look at that. Beautiful. I was making it in the MokaPot with the lid closed for so long that like here's something. This is an enjoyable moment in the morning. You know what I mean? If you're like, you're just seeing this thing bubbling out. I don't know. It's simple pleasures. Look at that. So make it with the lid open. You'll know when it's done. That way. I used to just wait until it's espresso in the apartment. I didn't know that I could open it and just, I mean, you could see the kind of foam that's the second layer that Mario's talking about. It's probably going to look a lot better from a machine than mine. So I'm going to switch my heat off. Mine's done, and then wait for Mario's shot to finish so you can see the layers. Boom. All right, we're back on.
This is actually pretty decent. So I pulled this shot in 29 seconds, and now it's 18.5 grams of coffee. And you could see that there's about 3 layers here. So it's the espresso layer here, and then it's kind of like fading here, which is still the espresso, but then the crema, which is like the O2 gases at the very top. So I would say this is pretty perfect or close to what I wanted, but let me give it a taste. Perfect for taste.